Hello, BookTube. Well, as I mentioned, it's a gray and rainy day here in Boston. I had to go out earlier today and leave Frida Bean, and I did. And as I was coming back, the rain was starting to pick up. When I left and when I was out and about, it was a drop here and a drop there and a very heavy sky. And the forecast was that the rain would get heavier as the day went on and might be downpours at sunset. And the whole time I was out, I was thinking, okay, you have X, Y, and Z things to do. Can you make it back before you're in a downpour? And I did. Just barely, I did. Of course, that doesn't answer the question of what to do with Frida, who absolutely will not go outside in weather like this. I have had dogs before. I've had beagles that were never big fans of it, except for one. There was one wonderful boy who would go anywhere I wanted in any weather. We walked everywhere in the pouring rain in Ireland. But my beagles weren't ever big fans of going out in the rain, and my girls, Lucy and Malin, hated it. Absolutely hated it. But they would. Those beagles and my girls would. They hated it, but they would go out in it. Frida categorically refuses to go out in it. Just won't do it. She's going to cause problems because this rain is probably going to go on all night. But I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I've made sure to let her know that she can simply go here in the house. I mean, she absolutely will not do that under normal circumstances. So I can cut her some slack when she doesn't want to go outside. I understand completely. I thought it was hilarious. Another Steve dog moment. I get them all the time. Where I was talking with a young dog owner 2 days ago on our dog walk, and she was saying, "Yeah, I've budgeted the time, and I've especially budgeted the money I had the dog leash trained. That took 3 weeks, and now she's going to obedience school to learn house training, and it's pretty expensive, but it's taking time." My whole time I was thinking, I've never done that. I can't even imagine doing that. Paying someone to house train your dog when all you have to do is just let up. Just let up and be consistent. Don't worry and be consistent, and the dog will figure it out. I've almost never had that not happen. For God's sakes, if Lucy could figure it out, any dog could figure it out. And Frida wouldn't go inside now for all the tea in China unless an emergency, unless I was neglecting her. There've been occasions where I had guests over, and the wine was flowing, and midnight came around, and I lost track of how long it had been since she went out, and then she will just sort of petulantly go. But ordinarily not. So I've got mail, is the long way of putting this. I got back just in time for the mail. My mail truck driver rang the door right after I got here, and he said that he was on his route, and he saw that he had a lot of stuff for me, and he was worried that he was going to have to leave it in the rain. I have a porch, but when it's pouring rain like this, the stuff on the porch gets wet. So fortunately, I met him so that we don't even have wet packages here. It's just a small pile of stuff. We'll see what we have here. We'll see if anything is squeal-worthy, deeply of interest. Where are you being? All right, so oh God, okay, this is from the great folks at Princeton University Press. This is due in mid-October. It is a slim volume of poetry. The very first thing out of the bag is a slim volume of poetry. It's called Flyover Country by Austin Smith, who grew up on a family dairy farm in northwestern Illinois. He's the author of a previous poetry collection called Almanac, and he teaches at Stanford and lives in Oakland. Dare I? Dare I? Here's one called The Only Tavern in Hyde, Wisconsin. When I walked into the forest of camouflage, faces turned, gleaming through the leaves like tin plates hung amongst trees for targets. Period. Only that's not a sentence. Okay. And what? What faces are turned? What's gleaming through the leaves like tin plates hung among the trees for targets? Okay, maybe it's the leaves that are doing that. In a moment of silence is a cliche, the eyes darted bird-like, darting bird-like is a cliche, measuring what had wandered in. Okay. I don't know who's measuring. I don't know what eyes are doing that. Are you in the forest, and are you measuring something that's wandered into your vision? Are you not alone in the forest anymore? Then the forest broke apart into forms, voices, hands. Hands emerged holding bottles. Bodies lumbered toward the bar, wreathed by smoke like a forest restless with fire. Okay, so the forest is the bar. The tavern, the only tavern in Hyde, Wisconsin. And the tree-sized men turned back to their game of euchre, torsos thick as trunks, arms the breadth of branches, fingers splayed twig-like, holding their cards like leaves, which they turned as if acting out autumn. Okay. All right. And then I noticed on every wall the heads of deer, their glass eyes staring through years of dust at the men who had killed them. Okay, that was the only tavern in Hyde, Wisconsin, which is apparently patronized by mutants, who are 15 feet tall. So we've got the only tavern in Hyde, Wisconsin is where the Ents go to drink. Unless maybe the narrator is a leprechaun, so ordinary-sized people look enormous. Otherwise, I don't understand the overblown imagery of size for the descriptive verse about them sitting at a table playing a card game. Slim Volumes of Poetry and I are a bad match. Anyway, I will read a few more poems in Flyover Country, just to get a better sense of this. In the meantime, let's hope for something in prose. Shall we, Bean? Let's hope for something in prose. Oh, give it a good thrash, Bean. There you go. Floor's going to be covered in manila confetti when this video is done. Just covered. I have to clean up every single time. Oh, okay. All right. This one a little bit worse for wear getting to me, but great. This is Joe Ide. This is Wrecked, an IQ novel. I think his name is pronounced Ide. I could be wrong. Kind of a shiny thing. Finished copy of IQ. Oh, look at that. The pub sheet actually tells me that I'm right. The pub sheet tells me that it's Ide. Oh, great. So this is about Sherlock in the Hood. In Wrecked, the author covers new ground with his lovable, unconventional hero, Isaiah Quintabe. Isaiah has never been more successful, and yet he's desperately lonely and isolated. Thankfully, he finds love with a young painter hiding from her dark past and searching for her long-lost mother. But the painter is connected with a dangerous paramilitary operation, and the risks have never been greater. Okay. In his search to find his own identity, the author found a role model in the Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes stories, reading and rereading all 56 of them. Like Ide, Sherlock was a misfit and not a tough guy, and he could defeat his enemies solely with his intelligence. At last, Ide had found a hero and a way to face a dangerous world. Okay. Joe Ide, if he's read and reread the stories so religiously, must know something that the writer of this pub sheet does not, which is that Sherlock Holmes was a tough guy. We learned that even in our read-alongs on this channel. Right? In the two stories that we've read. In fact, in one of the stories that we've read, Sherlock Holmes encounters a former heavyweight boxer who is now a doorman. And the boxer says, "It's a shame you left off boxing. You were terrifically good. You could have been famous." Holmes can handle himself in a fight. So that the idea of a disembodied intellect doesn't work. But this is due in October, of course. This is due in early October. I'm just laughing my way through the October books now. I'm just laughing. Tra-la-la. I laugh in the face of danger. Tra-la-la. Because October now is just a bad parody of a book month. It's more than I could possibly review. I could review all day long, and I couldn't do it. It's just... It's the busiest month of the year so far. So I'm assuming that all of these books are going to be October books, so that's fine. Tra-la-la. So let's see. Let's see what this next one is. Whoa. Whoa. What have you got there, Pete? What have you got there? Okay. All right. Settle down, you. All right. So what have we got here? Oh, okay. All right. Good. Good. Okay. Okay. This comes out. This is not an October book. I think this comes out next year. Yes, this comes out in January. It's by Lucy Worsley, and it is Queen Victoria, daughter, wife, mother, widow. Going beyond an exploration of Victoria merely as a monarch. Merely. How well did you do during your term on the throne, Lucy? Worsley considers Victoria as a woman leading a truly extraordinary life in a unique time period. The book is structured around the various roles that Victoria inhabited. A daughter raised to wield power, a loving but tempestuous wife, a controlling mother, and a cunning widow. All while wearing the royal crown. Interesting. Okay. So you remember earlier in my 5,000 videos, those of you who are new, there are 200 of you who are new to this channel. And you're probably wondering, oh my god, is it like this all the time? He does like 3 or 4 videos a day. And he expects us to remember everything that he's done before. It is like that, yeah. Which is why my long-term subscribers have a sort of haggard 1,000-mile stare. But if you remember, there's an October book called Empress that we got. That is an actual detailed historical study of what Queen Victoria did as Empress of India. Instead of the, isn't it grand, oh my god, the widow at Windsor, oh my god, the big parades. It was an actual nuts and bolts study of Victoria's emperor, or of her stint as Empress of India. Which is, believe it or not, a figure that's so much written of as Queen Victoria. That is an unusual approach. People do not typically write about the reign of Queen Victoria from a nuts and bolts standpoint. Wish that it weren't true. Same thing is true with Queen Elizabeth II. Most people don't do it. Some people don't even believe it can be. This sounds like an unconventional approach to Victoria. It sounds like it's going to go around the storytale of Victoria and try and get at some interesting insights. That's fun. Oh, I hope it's good. I will not be reading it until the new year. But I like that it's not conventional. That's good. So let's move on here. What is this next one? What? She's savage. Oh, God. I wouldn't have got that with either Lucy or Malin. Malin would have looked at it and then spent the next hour asking permission for me to if she could maybe bite it just once. And Lucy would have just stared. It wasn't much of a fan for moving. My girl was not much of a fan for moving. So what have we got here? What on earth? Okay, of course it's an October book, but it's not... Goodness gracious. Oh my god, look at all this. Okay. It's times like this that you wish you had Olive right here to do the pronouncing for you. I don't have Olive right here, so I'm going to try and do this on my own. This is The Collector by Natalia Semenova, and it is the story of Sergei Shushkin and his lost masterpieces. Why can't these people have Irish names? I asked them. Is that too much to ask? Okay, here's his name again. Right, the first thing in the pub sheet. Sergei Shushkin was a highly successful textiles merchant in the latter half of the 19th century, but he also had a great eye for beauty. He was one of the first to appreciate the qualities of the Impressionists and Post-Impressionists and to acquire works of Cézanne, Matisse, and Picasso. A trailblazer in the Russian art world, Shushkin and his collection shocked, provoked, and inspired awe, ridicule, and derision among his contemporaries. This is the first English-language biography of the man. It features personal diary entries, correspondence, interviews, and archival research, and it brings to life the life of a man who was hitherto remained in the shadows. Wow. A Russian art collector from the 19th century. So this is a perfect example of what I've talked about on this channel, which is the unconventional nature of biographies in 2018. In any other year, this would certainly have been just another biography of Tsar Nicholas. Instead, this could be terrific, and it's not anybody I've ever heard of. That's just wonderful. All right. Let's move on here. You ready? Just look at the floor. Oh my god. It's going to take forever to clean this up. Alright. Let's move on here. Okay. Alright, this is yet another October book. Tra-la-la. A laugh in the face of danger. This is by George Magnus. It is called Red Flags: Why Xi's China is in Jeopardy. Over the past 40 years, China has changed beyond recognition, becoming a world power following economic reforms made by Deng Xiaoping and Jiang Zemin. President Xi Jinping has inherited a much more prosperous but more complex economy than his predecessors. Will he be able to address the serious challenges China now faces in the road to future prosperity? Okay, so in a case like that, when you're asking a question like that, everything comes down to the author. The author here is George Magnus, but is he in any position to know any better than I am? The answer to those questions: who is he when he's at home? He's an associate at the China Center at Oxford University. Okay, all right, no need to show off. Research associate at the School of Oriental and African Studies and former chief economist at UBS. He was featured in the Telegraph as the man widely acknowledged to have predicted that the U.S. subprime mortgage crisis would trigger a global recession. Magnus has written extensively about China for print media, including the Financial Times, the Bloomberg View, and Prospect magazine, and is regularly asked to speak on TV and radio. Okay, great. I haven't read a book on... I haven't read a book on contemporary China all year long. I don't think. So that's wonderful. This is my nightmare. This was my nightmare all morning long. Was, another kind of video fine. If this weird allergy thing that is lurking around in the background of my life for the last 2 days. I was thinking the whole time, okay, just a random video, you can just, if you get hit with a sneezing fit, you can just stop and do it again. But I kept thinking, what happens if you have a sneezing fit in the middle of a mail haul? You can't do a mail haul over again. We'll have to hope for the best. I probably don't sound all that appetizing. Let's see. Now we've got some cardboard. No box. Let's see. Oh, this is a lot for you, baby. I don't know if you can handle this. Okay. Alright, okay. This is Rupert Christensen. This comes out in October. This is an October book. This is, we saw the advanced copy. This is just a very thin little history of Paris. A potted history of Paris, basically the Wikipedia entry in book form. I read the first half of it, of the advanced copy that I got, and it's good, but if you're going to do something like this, if you're going to do the Making of Modern Paris in this length, then it has to be superlative. It has to just leap off the page. And like, for instance, this thing here. This was so good. Oh my god. This is The Order of the Day. This is a translation. Eric Bouillard, this is a translation of his thin book, on the Anschluss, on the German takeover of Austria, the beginning of the end of Austrian freedom. One of the triggering events at the beginning of World War II. And this is so good. It is brilliant on every page, even in translation. Oh my God. And I did not have that kind of ecstatic feeling with this, but I'll read the whole thing now and see if maybe there are depths to it that I missed. Let's move on, though. What? Oh, okay. Okay. I saw this on my shelf. Of course, it's October. I saw this on my shelf and realized I hadn't got to it, and it's kind of curious. I don't know if we saw this on this channel or not. This is A World on Edge by Daniel Schonpflug. The End of the Great War and the Dawn of a New Age. And the reason it's kind of curious is because it's small. And World War I books usually are not small. And this is the story of the aftermath of World War I. November 1918. The Great War has left Europe in ruins. But with the end of hostilities, a radical new start seems not only possible, but essential, even unavoidable. Unorthodox ideas light up the age. New politics, new societies, new art and culture, new thinking. And the struggle to determine the future has begun. And this is just, it runs through a small cast of... it runs through a small cast of people. It anchors the history of all those upheavals in a small cast of people. One of them is Harry Truman. Another one is Virginia Woolf. And there are some that aren't famous. And it's due in October, and I have it, but I haven't read it. Now I'm wondering why, because it's right up my alley. But anyway, if we're going to deal with increasing sneezing fits, then we should probably wrap things up. We have got one more to do, and then I'll just sneeze off stage left. What? Wow, that was a grand leap. Okay, this is a 2019. Excuse me. A 2019 release. Enchanté. This is a debut young adult novel from Gita Trellis. So is this the French Revolution? Is that why we have the color scheme that we do? Sorry. Yes, Paris, 1789. A city filled with hungry peasants, working-class revolutionaries, frivolous aristocrats, and reviled magicians. This is the final word there. So this is going to be the French Revolution in YA terms with magic. Okay, well, that's enough of that. And besides, French Revolution with magic debut is probably enough. We will have to come back to this with a finished copy, but I'm clearly done for the rest of the day. So I'm going to wrap this up before I sneeze anymore at you. Thank you, BookTube.